Hello folks, and welcome to the first video of the new year. Again, apologies are in order for leaving you for so long without any videos to watch. I do apologise. Obviously the Christmas period is a busy one for me, and into the new year also. Just like to say a big thank you to all my fans, supporters and subscribers for all your lovely comments and helpful hints. Before we get into the bug out bag, I'm just going to make a little introduction. This little fella down there is Aggie Bear, who was recently given to me as a present by you know who you are, thank you very much. And Aggie Bear helps protect me against trolls, and when I'm in the woods he also helps protect against wild boar, badgers and other Aggie Bears. So that's Mr. Aggie Bear, just so you all can see him. Excellent bit of morale boosting kit that. As most of you probably already know, a good bug out bag should basically have all your survival needs covered to as great an extent as you can manage. Just to recap those survival needs, your first priority should be water, followed by shelter, followed by some signalling capabilities and communication, some navigational capabilities, some first aid capabilities also, and in last place of importance, some food or food acquirement tools. Obviously a bug out bag allows you to have a whole bunch of equipment that are essential to survival all in one neat place, so that means you can easily grab them if you need to evacuate quickly in an emergency situation. So far I've been building this bug out bag for about 4 years, and the way it initially started was I had lots of spare leftovers from my main bushcrafting kit, either bits that I didn't necessarily want to use for bushcrafting or bits that I've upgraded, and all the spare tools kind of went into the direction of my bug out bag. I thought, you know, rather than them laying in a drawer in a relatively inaccessible way, they may as well be all brought together in this one neat bug out bag. I have added some items in there specifically for the purpose of the bug out bag, just to make it slightly more well rounded now that I've had enough time and a bit more cash to develop it further. I recently saw a Funky Prepper's video, British bug out bag. I think it's called All the Best Bug Out Bag in Britain, I'm not quite sure. Hello Funky Prepper. Yeah, and I got jealous and I thought I'd show you all my one. If I could only grab one thing before I leave my house in an emergency situation, then it would most likely be this, but ideally I'd want to grab some other bits and pieces, including my full bushcrafting kit with all my serious kind of bushcraft tools in there, and obviously additional supplies, food, water, etc. But if I was reduced just down to this, then I think this will give me a good chance. Right, so I'll stop waffling and we'll get into the pack itself. First up, we'll look at the pack itself, which is in fact a Bugout Monroe pack, approximately 40 litre capacity, so not absolutely huge and not the most comfortable pack I've ever used, but it's the one that's available, so it is the best one in this situation. Pretty decent pack actually, really. I rate the workmanship on this. Can support quite heavy loads, especially for its size. The comfort isn't the greatest, as I said. It has some fairly well padded straps, but if with this pack weighed down, these do tend to bite into your shoulder after a while. Has a plastic clasp there just to secure it around your waist as well, stop it flapping around, so that makes it slightly more comfortable. No padding on the straps here. So yeah, made from a good denier, nice and thick kind of webbing style material, and yeah, it served me well on many occasions. I wore it as a day pack to work for about a year or so, and absolutely no problems with it, no fading, and all the stitching is holding nicely. Packed the way it is, it freestands, which is also handy. Avoid getting on the floor and getting all the contents soaking wet, although this is a fairly water resistant material. So looking at the outside of the pack first up, you'll notice that I've got an old school military style plastic, thick plastic water bottle in its own cover, just attaches on the side nicely. Over the course of a long distance, the swinging around will probably get on my nerves, and probably have to do something about that eventually, but you know, it's a good solid reliable water container and has been used for years by the military, so no messing around there. On the front here I've also got an old motorcycle glove, and inside the motorcycle glove there are a couple of other kind of thin silhouette gloves to keep you warm. The idea behind the motorbike glove is in case I need to, you know, remove some broken glass or pick up something hot or open a door that could potentially have a fire on the other side of it. It's a nice padded extra thick leather glove, really tough, so would protect your hands to some extent. Alongside that I've also got a neat bit of kit given to me by Mick from Animal Tendencies. This is forthcoming on his website shortly. It's called a Spyac, and it basically allows you to mount your camera on a kayak, but obviously it's made from good strong bungee with plastic clips at the end. Just gives me lots of other attachment options. Last thing on the outside of the pack is this marker here, which is in fact made from a sculpted G10, which has subsequently had several signalling devices added to it, including this Solas tape around here, highly reflective at night in torchlight, with a glow in the dark dot in the middle and a further glow in the dark circle on the back. Just helps you locate the pack at night time. Really cool little addition. Okay, so first up, in the top pocket we have the following items. These are just some items that it might be handy to have easily accessible in an emergency scenario. So first up we have a torch. Now I've chosen a AA torch to go in this pack because in a bug out situation AA batteries are probably going to be the battery you come across most frequently and will obtain most easily, but at the moment I've got it running on a 14500 lithium battery, which means that it's boosting out about 150 lumens at the moment. And alongside it, in a Kydex holster, I have an Alpha Bush Craft battery bolt, which I designed myself, and obviously this stores one good quality AA battery in a nice waterproof compartment. So obviously that's the first thing I want to reach into my bag, most likely. Many uses for the torch. Next up we have a small kiridashi made by Root Italy, RT Knives UK. Nice little single bevel kiridashi, perfect for a wide range of tasks, and looks really cool too. So obviously some cutting capabilities there. Next up we have some glucose tablets. Just good source of energy in a compact and easily and quickly digestible format, so it just gives you a boost if you need one. Also replaces salts and sugars, etc. Next up we have a silver Helios lighter. They no longer make these. Nice little unit, all sealed to keep it free of grime, dust and water to some extent, with a fuel window so you can see how much fuel you've got left. Obviously I maintain that this is always filled to the brim. Also has a neck lanyard to it, just to make it easy when you're lighting fires, etc. Next up we have a small container which basically has a paracord lanyard. Gives you some extra cordage there, always handy. and this is in fact simply full of tinder, which I've made myself. This is jute twine dipped in wax, several balls of it, enough to light loads and loads of fires. Nice waterproof container there, keeps all your tinder dry. Next up we have a paracord, what's the rope called now? It's a Kevlar inner strand with a 550 paracord outer, carbon fibre closing ring there. Super tough, you know, much higher breaking strain than your regular 550 paracord, just in a bracelet format, which is nice and compact. Never can have enough cordage, as that's probably one of the hardest things to make in the woods. Next up, just a simple silly little carabiner, quite a large one. Lots of uses for that again. Next up in here we have a Fisher space pen, note taking, etc. Right, it's upside down if that's any use to you. In this bag we have a folding saw, folding chainsaw, hand operated. Get through pretty reasonable sized boughs there, so again that's a nod towards shelter building. And finally in the top pocket we have a nice quality folding knife by Rat Cutlery. So that's the top pocket done, and now we'll move on to the main compartment. So now for a closer look at the insides of the bag. Two simple release clips, open the lid, and first up, riding on top, we have a very compact and lightweight sleeping pad. You know, this protects you down to about -10 quite comfortably. I have actually slept on top of literally ice with one of these, and managed to get through the night without shivering my butt off. So yeah, vital piece of kit. Obviously I'm in the UK, which is generally a temperate climate, so our temperature range varies from about, at the extreme, -15 degrees C up to about 30-35 degrees C. So kind of good for that temperature range, and gives you a lot of capabilities in our climate. Next up we have 100 foot, or is it 50? No, I think it is 100 of 550 paracord. Lots of uses for that obviously, and there's a good chunk of it there for shelter building, etc. Obviously you can take out the inner strands and use them for hunting, trapping, fishing if you had to. Next up we have a small little kind of trauma kit, or the beginnings of one, and this basically just has some rubber gloves and some tissues, just to help with general kind of small accidents. If I'm dealing with someone else's injuries as well, it gives me some protection. Next up we have a waterproof bag, which contains a wound kit, a wound treatment kit, which basically contains saline solution, rubber gloves, some pads, plasters and sutures, all good stuff, and kind of hermetically sealed, I suppose, to some extent inside this container here. So good vital piece of kit there to have inside a Bugout bag, in my opinion. Next up we have another piece of a first aid kit. This is again in a watertight container, and this contains some glucose gel, just for energy. I find, you know, if I bleed a lot, then I get a bit faint, and this brings me right back down to earth quickly. Also good if you're just dehydrated, exhausted, just to get your energy up. Contains some large pads there for wound dressing. The bandages can be used to make slings, but all sealed up nicely, so I don't have to worry about them getting wet or infected, so to speak.